All right. Yes, it's been a long day. It's Eric. I'm back with another booktube video. This past weekend, I hit 2 bag sales and a thrift store where I picked up a lot of stuff. So we're going to go through this pretty quickly. Starting with my haul from Value World. 94 cents. My buddy that I was with told me, hey, you need to get that. If you don't pick it up, I will get it for you. Apparently, it's about the bodies, the strange lives of the bodies post-mortem. Anyway, I'll check that out at some point. For all of you men's adventure fans, I picked up The Penetrator number 10. That's right, number 10. I've got a couple of those now. I've never read any. And then I picked up a Simon Green book. This looked kind of cool. It says, sounds like some kind of undead X-Files, Twilight Zone-y thing. I read some Simon Green way back in the day, and he didn't do much for me, but I figured for a quarter or whatever, it was worth checking out. So those were my Value World scores. Now everything else came from a big sale that they had for the PTO organization in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and then at the Westland Library, Friends of the Library sale. And I've mixed these up because there's just so much stuff. So without further ado, former library book, Raymond Chandler and the Woman He Loved. I tried to read this a long time ago. It wasn't that I was bad or anything. I just didn't have enough time before I had to take it back to my own library. So threw this in the bag. The bag at Westland, where this came from, was $4 a bag. There was also a Joe Gore's DKA file book and a Joe R. Lansdale book that I gave away already. So... and that one was Captain's Outrageous. George V. Higgins, he of the Friends of Eddie Coyle fame. The Mystery Hall of Fame, you can kind of look and see some of the classics that are on there. I've never read any Ellery Queen or J.K. Chesterton, even though I have books by them. So short story stuff is cool. P.G. Wodehouse, The Jeeves Omnibus. I have not read a Jeeves novel. I've read some of the other P.G. Wodehouse stuff. You know, it's okay. It takes a little getting used to, but threw this in the bag. All right. Stone City. Apparently this is about a lawyer who's in prison that is basically pressed into service as a detective by the inmates to find something out because he's not the man, and he is not a member of either side, so they consider him to be impartial. Donna Westlake's The Axe. I already have copies of this, but once again, it was at a bag sale, so I threw it in the bag. Another Joe Lansdale that I did keep, Sunset and Sawdust. It's a library book. Robert Parker, Poodle Springs. I used to have this back in the day, and I saw it and thought, hey, I should probably revisit that at some point. This looks virtually untouched. Okay, so Black Mask Murders by William F. Noland. Read Farrell Coleman. I've read one of his books before. I forget which one of the other Mo Prager books, and it ended with notes about Ann Arbor, where I live, so grab that up. 2 of the original Fletch novels. I've got a bunch of Fletch novels. I read a couple of them way back in the 90s. There's something I would like to get back to at some point, but nice solid copies. Threw them in the bag. Don Pendleton's Cop on Fire. Pendleton, who was the creator of the Executioner series. I never read any of the cop books, but saw one, so I grabbed it. I'm pretty sure that I've got a paperback of Survival Zero by Mickey Spillane, but I love that cover. There's the back cover, so that goes in the collection. Expats. I kept seeing this around, and I know of this from somewhere, so I grabbed the copy. They had a couple of them there. Somehow I wound up with 2 copies of Philip Kerr, the one from the other. One of these will get passed along to somebody or redonated or something, but I've been hearing about this series and meaning to check it out. James W. Hall. I keep seeing his books lately. I've heard good and bad things about him, so I figured I wanted to check him out, so grabbing copies of his books was a no-brainer. The Stories of Anthony Butcher. I've never read any of his stuff. I know that he was an important figure in crime and mystery fiction, so when I saw this, I grabbed it. These don't have dust jackets, but I had been looking for a copy of Dolores by Jacqueline Suzanne since the Paperback Junkie showed his. And while I didn't get the paperback, this is a decent hardback. And then the Bruno Fisher book just sounded It's Bruno Fisher. It's a slim paperback. It's the right era. Christopher Morley, Haunted Bookshop. Now, I read his other book, which was Parnassus at the Wheels, years and years ago, and I've always wanted to read this one, and I just never got around to it. I already have a copy of this, so this is to give away to friends, but this is Andrew Vachis doing his best gold medal kind of riff, and yes, it's a former library book. Getaway Man, so any of you like Baby Driver or Drive or The Driver or The Wheelman by Duane Zarinsky, you should check this book out. I got a couple of these James Bond paperbacks. This one's got a little water damage, but whatever. Once again, I don't have this one, but I have this one, so this one's going to be to pass along to somebody that's never read some Bond. Okay, moving along here pretty quickly. Tales of Supernatural Horror. There are some of the names on the back. I have not read some of these Theodore Dreiser. I've not actually read Robert Bloch. I've not actually read Fritz Lieber, Frederick Brown, but then you get a bunch of people there whose names are familiar, maybe. Bill Pronzini, Stephen King, John Lutz. This is part of the massive amount of horror stuff that I have been finding lately. I like that eyeball on the cover, too. That's kind of cool. Okay, so moving on to the paperbacks. So this guy has a name on the back of the last one. Carl Edward Kane. Never heard of Bloodstone. But hey, check out that cover. Okay. So some other horror paperbacks. Some of them look kind of romancy, but I don't really care right now. Maxine O'Callaghan, The Boogeyman. Look at these garish covers. I'm waiting for my copy of Paperbacks from Hell to show up. So I've been grabbing things that would fit into that. The Unforgiven, I don't know this. But this is also one of, I should do this the correct way. One of those that has the cover that opens to reveal. A subcover, I guess you'd call it. Copy of Carrie by Stephen King. This looks stupid or something. I don't know. I grabbed it. It's a zebra. It's a zebra horror, so I grabbed it. This is the one that really looks like a romance novel, but it's listed as a gothic. It's a zebra gothic. The Lost Lilacs of Latimer Houses. That is not a giallo title. Vampire's Kiss. And yet another Paul F. Wilson Repairman Jack novel. This one is kind of in rough condition, but these are for reading mainly or giving to people to be read. Copy of a Saint novel. I've never read any of these, but I saw this and thought, yeah, I should grab that. Hold off on that. Another Agatha Christie, Elephants Can Remember. So I have both of these, I'm sure, but they were there. I had room in the bag. Max Allan Collins, Crime Scene Investigation, and the tie-in book for the Corey TV series, which I really liked. We're not getting another season. I hear everyone's complaints. I acknowledge those can be issues, but I liked it for what it was. Yes, they changed things. I'm okay with that. So anyways, this was the novelization. Or I should say, the issue of the novel with the tie-in cover. Speaking of stuff I already have, 8 Million Ways to Die. It's a nice copy of that. Larry Bloch's Chip Harrison scores again. These are very much in the vein of Nero Wolfe. I've only read one of them so far, but I do want to get back to reading them at some point. A nice readable copy of The New Centurions by Joseph Wamba. All right, so what else have we got here? I did not find the next book I need in the Robert Parker Spencer series, but I found a whole bunch of Robert Parker stuff, some of which I had copies of and some of which I didn't. So I crossed some more off the list and have a couple more to pass along and give away. And this last one is an Ace Atkins Spencer novel. All right. I live in Michigan. Therefore, you always find Elmore Leonard, a Western. I don't have many of his Westerns. And then Be Cool, which I heard is not great, but I didn't, I threw it in the bag. All right. Speaking of stuff I have plenty of copies of, but grabbed to fill out the bag. Reader copies of John D. MacDonald. These are actually really good condition copy of Dresser in Indigo. Deadly Shade of Gold. The Long Lavender Look. And then a trade paperback of A Key to the Suite, which this is a copy that I'll read when I get around to reading those. Okay, and I think I got one more from that sale. And then I'll show you something I got that's brand spanking new. My buddy Jeremy Kinney, if you watch this long, this one's for you. And no, you can't have it. It's the novelization of Tough Turf. I grabbed off a free table somewhere. And it's got photos from the movie in the middle. So this is notable because it's James Spader. Robert Downey Jr. is in here. The Jim Carroll band plays. But apparently this actress here, what's her name? Kim Richards. She's one of those housewives in one of those Real Housewives shows. Okay, so then I went to my local mystery book dealer, who I don't get to often enough. And I didn't have a lot of time, so I was just going to poke around. And he had gotten the last batch of the Richard Stark Parker novel reissues from University of Chicago Press. So I picked up 3 of them. So I think my collection is missing just one of them. I have the Mysterious Press edition, so I have read that other one, but at some point I'll have to pick it up. But in the world of series that I want to own the complete set of, this is right there at the top. So I will be happy and sad to finish these because there will be no more Parker, because I don't see anybody else being allowed to write Parker, although I have some suggestions if somebody decides that's what they want to do. All right, so we're at what? We're at 12 minutes. That was pretty good. Comments, questions, opinions, anything you want to leave below, be my guest. And thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Bye.